Hello, buddy. So today is Sunday, March the 6th, 2022. And again, I didn't record for quite a few days. Such is life. No, there's so many things happening right now. So many things I have to address, prepare just myself with everything, right? Also inside here, mommy, all the stuff we're going to take, what we're not to take, to put things in boxes, to put those boxes somewhere, to finish this contract, to move so many things, to prepare everything so I can record like these kind of things in Mexico. Also, we're going to Spain before landing in Mexico. There's an avalanche event, which is a blockchain that I talk about very often, even in these videos. So I will be there for 10 days. I'll be covering the conference. It's an international conference, and they requested our channel to go there and cover the event. So I also have to bring the camera, the microphones, and recorders and everything. So it's quite a big thing, because even when I go to do some kind of event like that in Thailand in the past, it's so much work. It's just a single day, and I have a car, and everything is quite simple, right? In this case, I have to prepare everything to perfection before I get out of this door, and I have to put everything properly in the bags and not forget anything, and make sure nothing breaks and not to forget anything, and so on. And it's winter still in Europe, so that means that we have to bring some heavy clothing as well, which is horrible because I'm not accustomed to it. It's bulky, it occupies too much space in the bags, so it's quite a thing. And I told you also that I have to sort a lot of legalities here in bank stuff, and it seems like the debit cards I just got, they're like locked, so I cannot use them online. And of course, I'll have to be careful that they are they can be used outside here, because I'll need them in Europe and then in Mexico. So it's a lot of things happening. The house is a mess. And we can tell that that something big is going on. How? This is a very interesting thing. How do you know? Like people, if anyone watches stuff like this, they will be like, "But he's a baby. Like, how can he know?" Right? Like, well, and there's no question in my mind that you obviously know all. Like, you have access to information that the five senses of adults just don't have anymore. We lost it through the process of education, which unfortunately is more indoctrination than anything else, but also just because we have chosen to be born in this reality with a body. Then it means that we have to play with the rules of this reality, right? So I saw you, and I've seen babies, right? Like, I haven't seen many babies, but I see that definitely they just look at stuff that you can't, and they're like completely entertained by stuff, like, but there's nothing there. Yeah, definitely there's nothing there to my eye that is trained to see objects, like very specific objects that I already know how they look, what they do, how they look, and how they don't look. So when we come in this reality, we see everything, and by that means everything. So the process of a baby, especially the first months, but definitely the first 6 months, it's obvious that you see much more, and you just don't have the discerning eye to cancel out what is unnecessary for you to it's unnecessary for you So you're able to detect what is necessary for you to see. So you need to see real stuff, right? Real, everything is real, but touchable, physical stuff, right? Like this, or like your little trains here, right? So everything has an aura, everything is energy. So if you have the right tools, as a baby, you have the right tools to see, for example, the aura, the energy that surrounds this thing, and how this thing melts into everything else, because everything is one, right? Then it's what you come is you learn the physical reality, the properties, the principles. So it's there, everything is there, but you just have to stop like canceling everything that is not conducive for you to see objects separated from the rest. Nikola Tesla would probably see the ether, right? And that's something we are going to talk extensively when the right time comes to. Anyway, but for example, we are here in the room, right, in the apartment, and it's the day that we decided to go, right, it was obvious that it was exhilarating for you. And of course you didn't understand the conversation as such, but of course you see intention, you see auras, you see our spirits, you see the hope, you see the possibilities, right? Because that's what you're able to see. You're able to see potential in space. While ourselves, right, like the adults, we don't see potential. We see the actuality of that potential into a single thing, or into things only. So now that the house is kind of a mess and everything is like getting ready to get boxed, and I brought winter clothes, then you are okay, but you are sensitive. You are kind of out of place. Like you start feeling like you're not here, you're not there. That's something that I also noticed when you were like younger than you are now. That every new place was a place that it really like put stress on you. You couldn't sleep well in a new hotel, for example, when we were going to the beach or something. Everything was too distressing because you just started making some sense of what physically it was out there. And suddenly you changed to a new place and you were completely like, what the hell is happening, right? So this is happening again to a lesser degree because you are older, but also to a higher degree because you notice more of this reality. So either way, you perceive a lot, and this is something that I really need to think, like sit down and think, how am I going to preserve as much as this openness to information that is not necessarily perceived by the five senses? How am I going to make sure that you close the least possible? I mean, the first thing is obviously education. Education is nothing but indoctrination and standardization of people. Like we put little kids like you. Some people actually send 2-3 years old to school. I mean, I don't understand anything crazier than that. Like a kid doesn't need school. Kid needs mom. Kid needs daddy. Kid needs family, familiar stuff. Like learn through experiencing and playing, not learn by anything else that is not that. And the I know that a kid in kindergarten something, they're not going to be taught physics, right, or chemistry or literature, but every game has a point. And the point is that most games for babies don't have a point other than experience itself, without trying to guide the experience to have an exact or defined outcome beforehand. I see you, and you just play with the same thing over and over and over and over and over, and you're not trying to get familiar with circles. You are just playing with a wheel, and that wheel is giving you a lot of information that you are digesting in 10,000 ways other than the ones that I could tell you. Why is this thing so hot? This, my son, is a nightmare. This is a MacBook Pro and it's a piece of shit. 2017, I think. Total piece of crap. The guy that designed the insides of these things was fired by Apple, by the way, by Mac. But anyway, so sorry about the noise, buddy, but there's nothing I can do at the moment, and I don't want to use any money right now because I don't know what expenses are coming in Mexico, how long we're going to be there. So I need to make sure that there's a lot of, this disposable cash for whatever needs we have over there. Anyway, the point being that, to these days, the last couple of days, but more so today, I have seen you very sensitive, you cover it up. I can tell that you're trying to man up. You're trying to chill, and you're trying to do as if nothing is happening. But I can definitely see you're in some type of distress, definitely. And the way you play, it's too intense. And the way when you start laughing out loud like crazy, it tells me that you are dealing with stuff. Unfortunately, you are at this very moment, this very age, this moment in time, that you're just too active, and I cannot hang you. Like a few weeks ago, I would have had an easier time. I just hanging you so you cool down, just you chill out, so you feel protected, so you feel safe, so you process or digest this thing emotionally with less stress, right? Unfortunately, that's not possible. So all I am trying to do is just play with you and just allow you to be as naughty as you can within boundaries, obviously, but just like being very understanding. Like, I know you are having a hard time, buddy, and I know you need to blow off some of this steam, some of this energy, some of this stress that the situation has added in your life, right? But more than that, of course, can't do that, right? And as a father, man, as me, right? I don't know a father, but yeah, I do have to be very worried to not overprotect you, not to allow life to happen to you, regardless of how much or how well I would like to guide you. So you just go forward. That's something that maybe I'm wrong, and I really have to sit and meditate on it and ponder whether it's possible truly for you just to go forward. And what I mean by going forward means, this, like, a lot of my life I have had, like the last 15 years, really, I had to kind of pause the whole life. It's not that I stopped living, but I didn't develop outwards anymore. Let's say, like, economically, like all these things, I stagnated. Definitely, I did, because I had to look inwards. Because there comes a point that if you are having a major emotional pain and physical pain, you just have to stop and you have to fix it. Unless you want to die young or just be extraordinarily miserable. So in that sense, the last 15 years, I really, really, truly had to just go inwards and just fix stuff and just make sense out of a mess and integrate what I had to integrate and resolve what I had to resolve. Now, do I regret it? Not a second. It was extremely painful, that I can tell you. That introspection process, that awakening process to who you truly are, and all the things that have hindered you, it's painful, chaotic, distressing. It's the most difficult thing I've done in my life. Everything else feels like nothing. That's why probably I'm so so uninterested in certain things, like having it's not that I don't want to have another business. It's that I don't want to produce something new in my life, but it's just that after looking inwards, it's very complex. It's very difficult to find meaning outside. But one thing that has been healing and a guiding light for me to go outwards again is you, because you actually, by virtue of wanting to be with you, I had to come out of myself, like the vision inwards. I needed to suddenly like put it outwards. And the beautiful thing is that you were the reason. I mean, you were enough reason for me to stop some of that introspection, some of that daily, second by second analysis, and putting my attention on you. Now I have to be careful that I don't go into the nuances and to the super minute of your life, trying to help the fact that you may have to one day go into the same kind of introspection. The point is, I want to cause the least amount of pain as a father in you, so you don't have to fix shit. Like, unfortunately, I had to fix, and I'm still fixing, because I don't want to say it's a never-ending job, but I don't know. I see myself reaching the end. Actually, I feel that I'm so close to it. But again, I don't know if I'm just conquering a hill just to find out that there's 10 other hills to conquer again. But yeah, every time, unfortunately, but good thing. I want to tell you this, buddy, because I keep saying that I want you to know your real dad, the real man, not the daddy that you make up into a superhero for a while, and then of course you're going to find out I'm not a Superman, right? So there's going to be some you will feel down that I'm not that wonderful superhero that you thought at one point I was, because I'm not. But I want you to know the real daddy, so you know that it's a man that tried hard, very, very, very hard to be the best man and the best father and the best husband, right? So what is happening is that a few, like 10 videos ago, I mentioned that a new information is coming into my life, and it came in the form of this woman that I found in the internet that, amazingly, after all the research of all different spirituality topics I have done over the last 15, 20 years, I never heard of her. Never. Not once I saw anything about her. But suddenly she comes into my attention, and this is speaking stuff no one had. Not in the way she had, not with the approach she had. And it just resonates so badly with not just what I think, not just what I feel, but my life prior to that fixing I keep talking about. So so I'm doing a lot of this. I'm discovering a lot of stuff that even though it was evident, it was not something I could do on my own, because otherwise I would have done it already. But by listening to her, suddenly it's like, okay, no, that's like me, okay. But I never felt like that before, because some spiritual teachers I've followed, I've read, I've heard, are just like too good. Sort of say like, I'm not. They are not saints, and they are not portraying saints. Portraying themselves as saints. That's one thing. So I never followed anyone that, like portrays him or herself like they're perfect, because that is absolutely idiotic. One thing I know is that awakening, or being even enlightened, I'm not, but it's like being enlightened doesn't make you a perfect being. It just makes you enlightened, or it just makes you awakened, right? Like, you see things and you can't stop. You cannot unsee them. They're there. They're for that forever. No matter how hard you would like to not see, to not know, to not be aware, you are. But I feel like I'm healing a lot the last few days just by being able to conceptualize, to understand, to take from abstraction into something that I can talk about without using words that are like abstract, like emotions and feelings, but more like, more like situations and things that happened that didn't happen only to me, kind of thing. Some kind of footprint or flavor of pain that I hadn't seen in anyone. But when this woman talks, I'm like, okay, kind of what happened to me. I mean, she suffered horrible trauma beyond anything I have. Thank God for me. I mean, sorry for her, but never saw someone talking in these terms. No, I never heard someone suffering the kind of flavor of pain, right? That I did, and suddenly I listened to someone, that makes so much sense and is so articulated and is so knowledgeable that I'm like, whoa! And at this time, I have become very, 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 very wary and very skeptical of who to believe. I really have, even though my talk may sound like I'm just mixing and matching from very weird people. No, that's completely, totally away from the truth. So when I listen to someone talking like this and integrating all these different aspects of what a human is, right? Because most people just focus on a single thing. But this woman, her name is Teal Swan, and everyone hates her. Funny enough, strangely enough, but not strangely enough. Actually, that's what kind of connects me to her the most. Is that her, by being authentic, by virtue of being herself, has gathered so much negative attention, and that has been the trademark of my life. Like since I can remember, I just remember, like people really, really disliking me, but people that should have been neutral. I'm not talking about kids liking me, because we're all a bunch of idiots, right? Especially all these kids that unfortunately have very horrible parents, and they are beaten and they are mistreated or ignored. And unfortunately, I went to school where full of extremely rich kids from very powerful political families, like ancient political families with all the power in the country. Well, they tend to be very screwed up kids because no one cares about them, because everything they are given is just money, but not attention, not love, not nothing. So these kids are fantastic bullies because that's what life gave them as parents. Nothing much more than bullies, that people that just use money and power to increase money and power, but nothing else. So that it hurt, but I do like very much that I had bullies, because bullies showed they show you the way, they show you what you have to fix. You like it or not. If they're telling you fat, well, there's a reason you're fucking fat, and I'm talking for myself, right? So bullies just say what other people don't want to say because it's too politically correct, even though that didn't exist when I was young, right? Political correctness didn't exist as a cancer that is today. But I'm talking about my teachers. I'm talking about the directors of the school. Like, I'm talking about people that should have been measured and wise and shouldn't have taken places or shouldn't have disliked a kid because I was different, because I always had just different ideas, and because I didn't swallow what they told me, because I was like, this doesn't sound right, so I need to ask, right? And it was not a rebellious kind of attitude, because I was overly, how Jordan Peterson talks about it, agreeable. It was extremely agreeable. And that's actually, I think that's probably the one thing I have to work the most on. Just be less and less agreeable with time, because even today I'm still too agreeable for my own good. Too agreeable. Instead of conflict, I prefer being agreeable, and that puts you in a very weak position when it's time to defend your own rights or your own opportunities. So you have to be non-agreeable. Simple. Do we agree on terms that are just and fair for both, or just fuck it? Better fuck it. Don't accept a deal that is not good for you. And part of the deal being good for you is being good for the person you're dealing with. So that's the important thing. That's what no one understands. Like in Western culture, especially, that I can tell you after living Asia for almost 20 years, the concept of winning by you defeating totally the opponent is just ridiculous. It just doesn't work. It doesn't really happen much in these societies, because you know that if you beat the shit your opponent, and you win, well, nothing good will come out of it, right? If you leave that person or that entity in a position to still be useful, okay, maybe, but since the terms are so sided, right? Like so much to one-sided, right? Like there's that entity, person, or company is not going to really provide much value to you. So what was the usage of like killing them, right? So, but in Western societies and this kind of people, this idea of a win-win, both of us have to win. No, not necessarily. I win, and there's also the pride of destroying and of annihilating your opponent, right? Like there's not like, hey, win-win. We both have to win. This is something I learned in Thailand, that you do have to give space. You don't corner someone to the absolute maximum. You don't make them lose face, right? So yeah, so back to what I was saying, right? Like even I was agreeable. I was a very nice kid, very well-behaved kid. I was almost like from secondary school onwards, I was always just about to be kicked out of school for no reason. No reason. I mean, I didn't smoke. I didn't hit anyone. I didn't do anything of any kind. Nothing. I just asked questions. I just said, I don't understand. I disagree with this because of this, because I was a very informed kid. Since then, they didn't like it. They thought of me as too presumptuous. Or probably they just come from, well, I mean, teachers in the past were overly respected by people because they were like, oh, teacher and doctors, two professions that I don't respect much at all, right? And it's partially because of this, because when someone treats you like God all the time, you end up thinking you are, when you in fact are not. You're just one more profession in the world. That's it. No, but he can save your life. Yes, I can also save your life, even if I have no profession and you are in the middle, in front of a train and I push you and the train doesn't hit you, right? So, I mean, it's just perspectives. So, for me to find someone that found herself ostracized, and even today, right, when she has an amazing following of haters, right? When all what I've read and heard from her just makes a lot of sense. But yeah, so this has helped me a lot the last few days. Like, oh, okay, now I understand why I do have so much resentment and so much why I despise so much, for example, the school system, because it failed me completely, totally. It was the most disgusting waste of time and money I have ever witnessed. I can tell you this. I have never used any knowledge, really, for practical purposes in my life of anything I learned in school, other than what probably mom talked to me or could have talked to me in a few days or a few hours, is like what? Add, subtract, multiply, divide, percentages, that kind of thing. The rule of three. Done. Finish. The rest I learned because I just love reading and reading and reading and researching and researching and researching. I love it. I love going to people and asking questions until I find something that works, a model that works, and then I make it as efficient as I possibly can. But everything I do, every single thing I've made money with isn't related even remotely to what I learned. But the reason being that, first, the school system, as I said before, is just a way to make us all equally gray, mediocre, thoughtless, mindless, without any creativity, without any uniqueness, without any depth, without any differences, which is very, very, very bad. Think about it. We do everything. We put kids, like 6 years old kids, all together. It didn't happen forever. It was not like this before. Part of the reason that school system is universal and free is because it was one of the ways that was used in Europe to stop the young kids from joining revolutions, because the revolutions came from the little kids, the little young boys and teenagers that were desperate because of parents not being able to make means end meet. Meet ends meet ends. I don't know. They didn't just make enough money. So anyway, point being, so these kids would join revolt after revolt after revolt after revolt. So because it was starving or fighting, right? So the state at some point, they started thinking, hey, how do we get the kids out of the streets, out of the working force, out of the work, being the people that come and revolt over and over and over, and that was the birth of universal free schooling, where they put 6 years old, which are a bunch of useless, babbling little tiny pieces of humans, right? All together, so they cannot share experiences. They cannot take care one of each other. They cannot enrich one another in any way. And then 7 with 7, and 8 with 8, and 9 with 9, 10, and so we go. In the past, there was a bunch of kids together, and it's not like no one learned anything, right? I mean, I'm not talking about any specific period of time, but when you're in a community, all the kids tend to be together, and the older kids always take care of the younger ones, right? And they teach things, good or bad. There's a transmission of knowledge, there's a transmission of experience, there's a transmission of know-how that trickles up to down, right? Like from the older kids down to the youngest kids. And this is something you can testify anywhere, you can see anywhere in any community that is small enough. There's this kind of transmission of knowledge that it's just natural, right? And it's much easier, I'm sure, for a 10 years old kid to understand something from a 13 years old kid, or from a 8 to 4 years old, because there's empathy, because they're not far from the time that they were that age as well. I mean, my brother, every time that he goes to Japan, he always told me that I love how the kids play in Japan. They all go to the playgrounds, and they all play together, but they always organize in a way that all of them can play. The 6 years old, the 4-year-old, and the 12-year-old, they all play the same game, but giving the little ones a certain advantage so they can still benefit and play the game without feeling like no one cares about them, or they're just too young or too stupid or whatever, or just too clumsy, or they can't perform certain activities or certain things to win the game, right? So he always told me that I love how Japanese kids are so considerate and empathic with other kids, younger kids. So that kind of thing doesn't happen anymore. Why? Because 6 years old, just go with 6 years old, and no one can transmit anything but ignorance and confusion, right? So that kind of thing, right? And they all teach the same, right? Everything, we have systems for everyone the same. Why? Because standardization, because we want them all to be the same, because we have a regular workforce that we can count on, because they have the same minimum, absolute minimum, and mostly useless education, information that is good for nothing. So what we are really doing is distracting kids for 10 years, 15 years, so they don't find something better to do with their lives. That's the truth. So, and then we give them to school teachers that, for the most part, a bunch of useless, ignorant, frustrated people. Do I know good teachers? A few. I can say that I do. But out of, let's say that I throughout my life, I've met 500 teachers as a student, I probably respect one or two, probably two or three. No, one or two. Yeah. Civil law, one. That's a good guy. His name Uribe, his surname. Great guy. I learned a lot. He pushed me hard because the director, one of the main directors of the faculty, asked him and everyone, all my teachers, to make sure that I wouldn't pass. And he tried his best. But you know what happens when someone really, really tries to screw me up? Then they get the real Cloud. I just said my name. They just get the real. They get me fired up. And then, well, I stand up to it and to things, and then I stand up to the challenge, and then it's good. But it's a challenge. It's not just something that I have to do and follow. When you go to school, suddenly someone tells you if you can go to the toilet or not. I mean, to me, now that I'm adult, I'm like, why the fuck can this stupid woman determine whether I can or cannot hold my pee? Why does she get to decide over my body? Why does she have to assume that I am lying not to be in class? Why does she or he have to assume that I can hold 20 more minutes? Or why does he or she believe that whatever he's saying is more important than me going to pee? Why do they get to decide when I have lunch? If I'm hungry now, why I cannot eat now? Why I cannot talk an interesting point of the class with the person sitting next to me? Why do I cannot disagree with what they are saying when I know for a fact that what they are saying is wrong? This is the kind of thing that got me in trouble, but at a much deeper level with society as a whole. Authenticity isn't something that most people like. Societies are built on the opposite of authenticity, in pretending, in fitting in playing roles, not being yourself, which should be primed, but instead to have masks, to pretend to be someone, to have a role. So I was deeply and strongly punished for being born authentic. And this woman, Teal Swan, right? She was just the same. I mean, all she's doing is she's just being very authentic. Just not giving two fucks about what people say. If she has to compare herself to Gandhi, so be it. I mean, her choice. Who am I to say she's not even better? Because that's the thing. Because we don't see greatness. We're not accustomed to greatness. Because we don't see, like confidence, true confidence. Someone that is confident is going to pass as presumptuous. Because we don't see authenticity, we're going to believe that that person is lying to us. So, good thing is that listening to this woman has allowed things to fit, to fall into the right place. Like just suddenly, it's like, this is how it works. This is how all match together. Like that game that with blocks that you arrange. I don't know if that exists in your time, but it did long ago in mine. Now it still does, maybe, but I don't know because I never play games anymore. Anyway, well, I never did much at all. Anyway, but the point is that and it's kind of funny that these things happen right when there's such a shift happening in real life, right? Like, I hope that 2-3 months from now I'll be back from Mexico, but the chances are also that this this government in Thailand keep just going the wrong way and just keep strengthening their policies, and it makes it almost impossible for me to come, and then I won't. But it's funny that suddenly I find that which hurt a lot has been that disapproval of authenticity, and when you are young, probably I processed this in the wrong way. Instead of thinking, I'm being who I am and people don't like it, so be it, was probably somehow I interiorized it more as I am bad. Not a bad person, but everything I do seems to be wrong. Therefore, I'm bad. When you're a kid, you do associations, the associations you can. Even as adults, I don't think we make much more accurate associations than when we are young. But when we are young, we don't have filters. And we are very, I don't want to say self-centered, but we do understand that everything existence is around us, because that's the truth. It's wrong that we have to live for everyone. No, your happen to you. Your life happens to you. I mean, I like imagining life now today as a 360 degrees sphere. Everything is available, but it depends what I put my attention on. So I could be now insanely worried about Ukraine and hating Putin, right? Because everyone is telling me to do so. But one thing is I know they're lying to me, because I do know some good, not a lot, but a lot more than most people about Ukraine. All right, I know how the U.S. has been like betraying the Russia, right, for more than 25 years. How they betrayed Gorbachev, right? I know how they've been breaking every promise and every possible thing that they reassured the Russians were not going to advance their missiles, right? I do understand that they have been provoking everything because they want to distract the people of the US from the mess that they have created financially. But I also choose not to care either one of that or the pandemic or any of those things because this is my 360 degrees life, and I choose what to put attention to, and that is just crap that is distracting me. But again, it was just about the as a young kid, you make the simplest association, right? And because everything is about you believe to be yourself the problem. Even though you see that society is crazy and fucked up, as you are young, so you kind of say, like, that's me, right? So I don't know if you develop some kind of guilt or worthlessness. I think that is the kind of thing that I developed, actually. And I've been thinking about a lot about it. And I think that is what I wrongly, stupidly did. I processed it as me being unworthy of being appreciated as who I was, because I was only showing who I was. I wasn't pretending to be someone. I wasn't trying to look smart. It was not the case. I mean, I could very well say today, well, I was pretending this, right? I was just trying to be super cool or something. No. It just came with this weird idea since I was born, kind of thing. Like, just my eyes are just angled in a slightly different way than every other person, and I just see things differently, and I do, just stuff like that, right? And so it's funny that it's happening right 2 weeks before going back to the place that I developed these ideas and this worthlessness feeling, and this feeling that being myself, because that's the only thing when you're authentic, is just being yourself. So how can you be so upset about someone being himself or herself? What they don't understand is that the discomfort authentic people create in others is not something you're trying to do viciously to make them feel wrong. It's just that your authenticity just is a slap on the faces of all the people that have learned to be unauthentic, to betray themselves, to disown themselves. So it's just so hard for, especially I believe on an adult, right? Like teaching secondary school with the miserable payment that they get in Mexico, probably they would resent a lot this tiny, chubby kid, me, 4 eyes kid, with a vocabulary 10 times richer than theirs already. They probably resented this kiddo, being so much more authentic than they could ever imagine being themselves. So I'm going back to that scenario, to that geographical place, to that society that unfortunately is extremely unauthentic, because it's heavily invested in image, heavily invested. Like Latins are like heavily invested in being cool, in being macho, in being better than you and more powerful than you. And so it's funny that I'm coming to terms with this at the moment that I'm going back. So I only have the feeling that it is for a very good reason, and everything is for a good reason. No matter what, everything that shows in your life, buddy, is for a good reason. There's a lesson there to be learned, and once you unlock that lesson, once you unlock that knowledge, you just go up. You just go higher and higher and higher. But do expect that you're always going to be in this loop. There's no ending to learning. But the development's beautiful, and you fall in love with the process. And you find out that regardless of all this, life is spectacular. And you are living proof of that. So, yeah. So that's, maybe I'm talking too much about myself, buddy. But again, it's just that I want to show you the real man. You're super cute, but as I said, you're very sensitive in this moment in time. Very, very sensitive. You're funny as hell. For some reason, you don't like when mommy hacks me. So, you know what you do? You run across the living room and you tackle her like almost an American football player. Oh no, a real guy, better, a rugby player, right? Just like, and I can see your like head, just like, just like bounces off mommy's leg, And today we were in the studio, and you just pushed mommy out of the room and you closed the door, right? And you were like, oh, like, because you know mommy's coming in, and you just jump into on my arms, and I guard you against mommy, and mommy pretends to be upset, and you laugh like crazy. And I'll tell you something. You know what you did this morning, which was like, oh my God, like so beautiful. You actually woke me up with a kiss. You kissed my lips. That's how you woke me up. The most beautiful morning in my life. That's about it. And that's it, buddy. We went to the market yesterday, but you know, Chatuchak market, which happens to be the largest market, the largest market in Asia, is completely, totally destroyed by all this COVID bullshit. Really badly. But hopefully it will come back from the ashes. And that's it. I said I was going to make a shorter video, and this is already 50 minutes and 55 seconds as I speak. So it's not very short. But hey, just want you to know, Daddy, I love you. And now I'm going to get ready for bed. And I'll go quietly to the room. I will lie right next to you. And after a few minutes, I'm going to give you a kiss. And I'm going to caress you. I'm going to touch your hair. I'm going to listen to your breathing. And then I'm going to sleep. I love you. Always. And I know you're having a wonderful life. Take care, little one. I love you.